Who's in charge when you're providing daycare for your grandchildren? Providing daycare for your own grandchildren is a very responsible thing to do. When you are taking care of those children, you're 100% responsible for their health and welfare. What kind of authority do you have that enables you to fulfill those responsibilities? So who's in charge? Well, let's rule out one person that's not in charge. I think you know what I'm talking about. The child is not in charge. That's why you're providing care for the child, because they're just not mature enough to be the authority in the household. So what are your responsibilities? Well, number one would be to keep the child safe. We want to make sure that the child is in good hands when they're at our home or when we go to their home to watch them. We want to make sure they're safe. There's a whole nother video that I've done previous to this about keeping children safe. I would suggest that you go there and watch that one, because there's some pretty good tips and some comments from others in our grandchild care community. Also on the grandchildcare.com website, there's safety tips. And another responsibility that we have as caregivers for our grandchildren would be to keep them happy. We wouldn't want them to be miserable all day long. We want to make sure they're happy children. And so this is a responsibility that we have. And sometimes, because they're little and they don't understand, it requires us to have a measure of authority to make sure that the day goes in a way that keeps the child happy. For instance, if we were to sit them on a tablet, give them a little device, a phone, a tablet, put on YouTube, Netflix, whatever app we're using, and just let them sit there. Yes, any grandchild would be pretty happy doing that. In their mind, they would be, because they love to watch things on the devices, right? But we know that that would not be responsible. We know that if they're sitting there all day on that tablet, when mom comes to pick them up or dad comes to pick them up, it's going to be hard to get them off that tablet, and they're going to have a miserable night. So here they are with this precious time with their children, and the child's miserable because it's been on that device all day. So we have that authority to decide those kinds of things, to make sure that it's a happy environment for the child. We have also the responsibility to make sure the child is healthy. So we want to make sure that the environment is clean, neat, so that there's not hazards that the child could get hurt with. We want to make sure that the child is fed in a healthy manner. And this requires a measure of authority, but also that authority comes from the parent, because most parents are going to want to decide what their children eat or drink. So we might feel that certain foods are fine, but the parent doesn't. And we have to respect the authority of the parent in that regard. If we disagree, perhaps we think that the parent isn't providing or suggesting healthy meals, then we need to talk about that. And that's where that relationship with the child, our son or our daughter, is important, that we're able to discuss the welfare of the child in a manner that is productive. So we want to be careful about usurping the authority of the parent when it comes to things like what the child will eat or drink. Now, there are some resources on the website for healthy meals. And then it might be good to develop a menu so that the parent can then approve of the menu. Sometimes the parent will bring the food for the child. They'll pack their lunch or snacks. That really comes in handy because, number one, we don't have to provide it. The parent is happy because they like to provide the food for their children. It's kind of a thing within us to want to do, to provide our children with food. So packing their lunch can be a good thing as long as they're eating it. I know we had, with one of my grandchildren, a little problem in that mom was packing lunch, but he would not eat it. There was a struggle, and we had to discuss that and modify it because we want to make sure the child's fed in a healthy manner. So sometimes the authority can come from the parent in those regards, and we do have to respect the parent's authority. So let's talk about who's in charge in the household, especially if it's in your home. Normally you feel like you are in charge of your home. Well, when you have a little one in, or maybe 2 or 3 little ones, now who's in charge of that health and welfare of the little ones? Well, obviously, if the parent's not there, we're going to be in charge. We're going to have full authority over that child so that it's in a safe, healthy environment. But that authority is granted to us by the parent. And that's important to remember, so that when the grandparent or when the parent suggests something for the child, maybe I know my daughter likes to limit the amount of time that a child's on a device while I have the child, so that while she's making dinner, she feels a little better that he could be on a tablet sitting at the table while she's making dinner, because he hasn't been on it all day. And so I have to respect that authority, keep him busy doing other things, and that's not a problem. It's actually been really nice. It really has developed our relationship. So we want to keep in mind that ultimately the parent obviously has authority over the child. We can't make big decisions for the child unless, of course, we are the full-time caregivers for our grandchildren, but most of us aren't. Most of us are just providing daycare. So the big decisions come from mom and dad. But while they're in our care, the decisions made for that day at that time would be made by us, and we have authority to do that. And mom and dad have to respect that. They have to respect that we do have that authority. Otherwise, it is chaos. We must have some authority over the child while they're in our care and over the environment. One of the things that has helped over the years, and I'll just mention again, I've been doing this for 20 years, I have 12 grandchildren. One of the things that has helped in our household with the measure of authority that I have needed to provide this care for the children is rules. So we have household rules, and it's okay to write them down, and you don't need a whole lot of them, but it's good to have some household rules because they're automatic authority. And let the child, your son or your daughter, know. They probably know what they are because they were raised with them, right? But remind them of what the house rules are in your home, and that will really help to provide that type of authority that you need. I think it's important too to just mention again, and I mention this a lot in the videos, is if you're a grandchild caregiver and you're providing daycare for your grandchild, do not let anyone confuse you with a daycare center. You are not a daycare center. When the parent, if they would drop the child off at a daycare center, that center has authority over that child. That center has so much authority that you have to have a password or a passkey to get into that daycare center to get to your own child. That parent has legal authority that the parent has to respect. Of course, that is because that daycare center has full responsibility over a lot of children. So they have to have some type of authority. You have to be there on time to pick up that child, or problems can arise. You can't, in a lot of daycare centers, you have to drop the child off regularly. If you're not regular in the times that that child's at the daycare center, they might drop you. So we are not a daycare center. We are the grandparents. We're providing a different type of care for our grandchildren. In my opinion, it is the best because no one loves that grandchild like the parents and the grandparents. And that love is going to motivate us constantly to give the best care we can. So beyond authority, beyond responsibility, we know why we're taking care of our grandchildren, don't we? We know it's because we love our grandchildren. And it's all about that. It's all centered on the love that we have for them. And if you're a grandchild caregiver, I want you to pat yourself on the back because you deserve it. You're doing a good job. It's not easy. It's a great responsibility, and it's a sacrifice that you should be recognized for. And I just wanted to also say thank you. Thank you for watching my videos. It really, really helps to grow our channel. If you could like and subscribe, that would be awesome because that's going to help to grow the channel and we can get out more support for the community. So once again, thank you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.